right below, and all you have to do is hit it. And there's no interference.
Friends, there are some seats up at the front if anyone else would like to be seated. Well, thank you all for being here today as we remember Lisa. Following our service here, the family invites you to join them. They will be at Annie Gunn's following the service, and you'll have the opportunity to share stories and memories with her family and to just have a little more time together. I know that not everyone had the opportunity to express their condolences yet this morning, but I appreciate you for being on time. I know that was not one of Lisa's specialties, but I'm grateful that we could do so in her honor. So for those of you who are wishing to make memorial contributions in her honor, you're invited to do so to Sherwood Forest Camp or to the Salvation Army, two charities that were very near and dear to her heart. It is hard to sing of oneness when our world is not complete, when the one who once brought wholeness now is gone. But the beauty of her life remains in what we have become. So the wholeness of her memory lives on. Hamakom yenachem etchem. Hamakom yenachem etchem. Hamakom yenachem etchem. May the source of comfort comfort you. Death has taken our beloved Lisa. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence, there is lamentation. In their tears, there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of all you loving family and friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For her love that united us in life and which death cannot sever. For the gifts of her companionship that we shared along life's path and which continue through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us such joy and are now a precious remembrance. For all these things and more, we give our thanks to God. So in this time of grief, we turn to the voice of our sacred scriptures that bring us the ever-new message of God's nearness and remind us of our kinship with the Creator, in joy as in sorrow, in light as in darkness, in life as in death. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Ecclesiastes taught us that for everything there is a season and a time for every experience under heaven. So there's a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. We are taught that in his sorrow, Job cried out, Adonai natan va'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai mavarach. God has given and God has taken away. So we bless the name of God. An ancient people, we are well acquainted with grief and with the valley of shadows. Death and sorrow are not strangers to us. Yet the centuries have taught us that a good name endures beyond the grave and that there is strength in faith. So with Job we say, Adonai Natan. God, you have gave us a loved one who could not be forgotten. And for all that was so good and precious in her life, we offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. And now, Adonai Lakach, God, you've taken away. We pray for the strength to turn our broken hearts into an altar of trust before which we acknowledge your sovereignty, and we say, Yehi Shem Adonai Mavarach, blessed be the name of God, now and forever. We take just a few moments of silent prayer as we remember her. Imre fi legion libi lefanecha Adonai etzuri Adonai tzuri vegoali May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. O God, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. 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 Lisa was always the type to be inclusive rather than exclusive. And so with that in mind, we have quite a few members of her friends and family who are going to offer some memories of her with us today. And I say that recognizing that probably everyone in this room has stories and memories to share, but today we're going to hear from first Wesley, maybe with Scott, then Andrea and Nikki, Carly, Kristen, Stephen, and then we'll end with a song from Erminie and Tandra.
I don't know if everybody can hear me, but I'd like to thank you all for coming today. I am Lisa's oldest brother, Wes, and this is my little brother, Scott, or Lisa's little brother, Scott. I'm not a particularly good storyteller, so please bear with me. If any of you attended Lisa and Stephen's wedding, you can probably attest to the fact that I'm also not reputed to be a gifted public speaker. So, if you were there, you likely do not remember the words that were spoken despite my best efforts to deliver an unrehearsed, heartfelt message, but you may vaguely remember feeling like you had just witnessed a good old-fashioned train wreck. Our sister, Lisa, was a force of nature and embraced life and the people she loved with fervor. She was fiercely independent and had a fiery personality. When she walked into a room, her flashing, brilliant smile framed her with her radiant red hair. It would light up the room. She was a warrior princess long before the notion of warrior princesses was even a thing in pop culture. There is no doubt that the void left behind by her departure will take more than words to fill. Growing up, Lisa had a tough way to go. As her only little girl, her mom had plans and unusually high expectations for Lisa. Said plainly, she wanted Lisa to grow up to be an elegant and refined lady. With her penchant for sewing, her mom would make and dress Lisa in outfits that Lisa more often than not did not want to wear. However, Lisa did not want to be unappreciative, so she indulged her mother's fashion whims with grace and thanks. As a little girl, Lisa did not want to do traditional ladylike things. She did not want to ride a bike side saddle, if that's even possible, while wearing a dress, play with dolls, or have tea parties with perfect utensil placement for imaginary friends. She did not want to be dressed up like a porcelain doll, And she especially did not want to be dressed in Little House on the Prairie or Holly Hobby dresses. So, luckily for Lisa, she had brothers that loved her and gave her respite from the pressures of being a perfect little lady. She preferred to get on the roof of the house with her brothers and launch G.I. Joes into the air with parachutes. She was as fond of matchbox cars and toy soldiers as her brothers were. She was included in good-humored roughhousing and wrestle royals. She was small but scrappy and gave as good as she got. She was not afraid to do things her brothers liked to do, like walk in the creek and look for snakes and unusually large spiders. One of my favorite memories of Lisa is when she was real small. She caught not one, but 2 frogs in our front yard. And there's a picture of that out there. You can see it. And you could see in her eyes how happy and proud of herself she was as she carefully presented her new friends in gentle hands, with pinkies out like the frogs were fragile little teacups. I remember one occasion when Lisa was riding her bike and hit a patch of cinders on the road and wiped out. She was skinned up pretty good. She didn't cry out in pain. She didn't cry at all. She just held her breath and gritted her teeth in silence, then proceeded to get up and walk it off, all the while displaying a grimace that would become something of a trademarked Lisa Sideways evil eye. Our sis was tough as nails. Lisa was not content to just look out for herself and find her own way in life. She loved her little brother Scott more than anything, and Mother hemmed him as best as she could. Lisa would give him haircuts and help him with anything he asked her for. Her whole life, Lisa was a complete sucker for a furry face, not just traditional dog and cat faces, but anything with 2 eyes and a furry face, like a guinea pig, ferret, hamster, gerbil, and even visiting possums. Show Lisa a furry face, and she would want to love on it. Growing up, my brothers and I were not particularly interested in cooking, especially early in the morning before school. Ours was more of a fend for yourself and find something to eat if you cared to house. And we mostly found being hungry to be easier than cooking. No one asked or expected Lisa to, but at some point, while she was still in grade school, she took it upon herself to more often than not get up early and make breakfast for her brothers because she didn't want any of us to be hungry. Having self-taught herself from a young age, many of you can attest to the fact that she was one heck of a good cook. If any of you have invited Lisa to come to your home, you can attest to the fact that she never showed up empty-handed, even when you asked her not to bring anything. Lisa had a huge heart and was thoughtful and generous. She always wanted to pull her own weight and then some. Lisa's desire to help others find their way in life became fully formed while working in the Sherwood Forest Summer Camp Leadership Program. She served as a mentor and camp counselor to children from all sorts of backgrounds. She took her responsibilities for the children she was entrusted with seriously and embraced them with love and compassion, all that she had. And they loved her back. Forgive and forget. That is a nice sounding and well-meaning phrase that is often used by many people. In our family, forgiveness was handed out in heaps and bounds, but forgetting is something that, in truth, most of us are not actually capable of. Remembering the good and the bad things that happen to us in life is what makes us human and is fundamental to learning and self-preservation. If you can't remember that fire is hot, you have a rough, hot road ahead of you. In our family, forgiveness did not include forgetting, and it did not rule out good-humored retribution and revenge. As kids, our older brother Willis and I built a deck on the back of our house. The only bathroom in the house, and more importantly, the only bathroom window, was semi-accessible via the deck we had built. The bottom of the window was about 6.5 feet from the deck floor height and conveniently opened up above the top of the shower tub wall. If one was foolish enough to take too long of a hot shower with cold water with the window open, whilst others were waiting their turn, one could find a garden hose running full blast with cold water raining down through the open window upon themselves. This was considered great fun for all of us, and once started, that cycle of revenge went unhindered. Any Star Wars fans here are familiar with Revenge of the Sith. I can tell you that the Sith had nothing on our sis. If Lisa was the unfortunate victim in the shower, God help you. Revenge would come only after she was certain you had forgotten your foolish endeavor. She was a master at serving up the dish of revenge served cold and often. I will never forget her laughter through the shrieks of discomfort of the deserving fool she finally took her cold revenge upon in the shower. If I had to compare Lisa to another living creature, I would at first feel compelled to describe her as a beautiful, colorful, delicate, and elegant butterfly. If you've ever been fortunate enough to be sitting alone outside, lost in thought, and found yourself with a butterfly perched behind you, then you might have an idea of how special you felt when Lisa was giving you her undivided attention. This, however, would be a gross misrepresentation of her. Now, Lisa could be compared, you couldn't compare her just to a butterfly. She was more like a dragonfly disguised as a butterfly. If you don't know anything about dragonflies, then today's your lucky day. You're going to get learnt something about dragonflies. They have one of the broadest ranges of vision of all living creatures, enjoying a nearly 360-degree sphere of sight. They are just one of only a handful of the predators in the world that do not chase their prey. They are capable of complex calculations involving speed and direction, and they intercept their prey where it will be, not where it currently is. They have the highest success rate of any living creature on the planet, catching 95% of all their targets. For comparison, falcons, hawks, and owls cannot break the 25% success rate. When the females are pregnant and tired, they are known to catch a ride on their mates. Lisa seemed to be able to see where your thoughts were going, and if you turned around to see where she was, to see if she was following you, you wouldn't see her. You would turn back around, and she'd be there tackling you, knocking you off course with a big smile, thoughtful, kind words, or a big hug. She always kept an eye on her people and would set an intercept course if she thought you needed help. In November of 2021, our mother passed away, and our family began the long process of sorting through all the things that were left behind in our childhood home. Each of us took just a few things to remember her by and started sorting through and organizing all the rest. Most of her belongings were donated to charities, while unserviceable things were disposed of. In total, this process took about 2 months, every single day. During this time, Lisa was not physically well. And despite all of our encouragement for her to stay home and take a rest, she would not. She'd show up dressed nicer than all the rest of us put together, and with food in tow, and roll up her sleeves and get to work. She refused to not be there and shoulder as much as she could. So with concern for her health in mind, I eventually had to lie to her, and it's something I feel really bad about, but that was the only way to get her to stay home and take care of herself. That was our little warrior sister in a nutshell. But sometime around Christmas, all of us finally did take a few days break from the physical work at our mom's house. During this process, my wife Terry and our daughter Katie sorting through boxes of letters and bills and handled all the accounting level work. And I took on the IT work of breaking into mom's computers and numerous hard drives to assist with getting her online billing and social media in order and to preserve pictures she had, memories. So part of that process involved getting access to her email accounts. Our mom was very fond of forwarding emails with clever little bits of internet wisdom without adding anything personal to them. All of us over the years would have preferred to have just received a single, just a heartfelt message from her instead of the forwarded me emails, but sometimes you get 4 or 5 of those in a day. And it happened so often that all of us collectively sort of thought maybe her computers were hacked, her accounts were compromised, weren't sure they were coming from mom, but after mom died, the emails stopped coming, and I had planned on letting the rest of the family know that I was doing the IT work, getting access to everything. But I didn't tell anybody because I wanted everybody to enjoy the few days from work, and I had failed to do so. Late into the night on one of those evenings, I successfully gained access to Mom's favorite email account and found all these unforwarded emails containing internet wisdom. I resisted the temptation at first, but after about 30 seconds or so, I did something bad. I picked one, selected forward along with Lisa's email address, and hit send. I sat there feeling bad and crying with laughter at the same time, and then I felt even worse for laughing about it harder. I was certain I could hear Lisa scream and the panic emanating from the Bly household 40 miles away as the message from beyond was received. But a few days later, sitting on the front porch of Mom's house, Lisa said to me with great concern showing on her face that she thought Mom's email had been hacked because she had received a forwarded email from her account. I tried to play innocent for a few seconds, but just started crying and laughing again. And that's when Lisa's trademark's evil eye made another appearance. She was mad for about 10 seconds, and then burst out in laughter while expressing her relief that it was not a message from beyond. I know Lisa forgave me, but I'm still waiting for her to exact her revenge. I'm sure Stephen has forgiven me for the disturbance in the force I created that night, but he is the guy that had to deal with it. Forgiveness aside, I fear he learned something from Lisa about good-humored revenge. Lisa met Stephen at Crazy Bowls and Wraps. This was not a short courtship. Every day for several months, Stephen would go there to eat in hopes of seeing or talking to Lisa as he worked up the courage to ask her on a date. Eating your favorite food every single day can ruin that food for you, but eat there he did because he wanted to get to know Lisa. Rumor has it that as good as the food was there, it had long ceased to be appetizing for Stephen before this happened. It would seem Stephen, much like a dragonfly, did the math, set his course, and put himself in the path of what he wanted. In the end, his dedication and patient long-suffering and perseverance paid off. In Stephen, Lisa had found a kindred spirit, and the rest was history. Stephen, I want to thank you again for being the happiest and best part of Lisa's life. I know that with you, she spent the last 26 years with someone that loved her as fiercely as she loved you, laughed with her, challenged her to grow, and carried her when she was tired. You will always be a part of our family. The entire Dessain family loves you. It is natural to grieve our loss, but I think each of us should try to remember to temper that loss with gratitude for the time Lisa was shared with us. It is said that God created us in His image. I like to believe that He didn't just create us in His image, but that He also bestowed upon each of us, His creations, a small sampling of His personality traits so that through each other we can all learn something about Him. Be quick to forgive. Be slow to forget so that you don't miss an opportunity to learn something and grow to be a better person. Be quicker still to set an intercept course for someone that looks like they need help. A smile, a kind word, or a hug. If we do that, Lisa will live on through each of us. I am certain right now she is already planning an intercept course for each of us.
Wesley, I believe you've said it a lot, and no disagreements there. My sister Lisa was the most generous, thoughtful person, always caring. I always, ever since my mom passed, she was always trying to help out in any way she could. But Wesley touched base on a lot here. I just wanted to say one of Lisa's last texts to me and Wesley. I love you, gents. You are the rocks of existence. Heads up, chins up, stand loud, stand proud, stay forever caring and kind. Nothing's wrong and no need to respond. Just love you. Thanks for coming today, everyone.
Hi, everyone. I knew it would be standing room only for Lisa. I don't know most of you, but I feel like I know you because if you were here and she loved you, you're definitely worth it. Lisa was one of a kind. My name is Andrea, and I've known Lisa for over 40 years, since we were children. We first found each other as kind of kindred spirits through choir, of all things. We were in a Missouri youth chorale together, and I think we liked that because we got to get dressed up and do our hair really fancy and tease all the boys that had to wear tights. Yep, we were dressed up like Shakespeare. And we loved to just get with this great, strange group of kids that were willing to give up Saturdays to sing music a cappella from like the 15th century. We were a strange group, but we all loved each other, and we had great fun. I was kind of a strange kid, little awkward, true nerd, didn't have a great, huge group of friends, but Lisa didn't care. With Lisa, I could just be me, and I hope that you all felt that way too. You could always just be yourself with her. You didn't have to hide, you didn't have to put up a front, you didn't have to change. She could see straight through you, and the moment that you tried to cover anything up, you would get that look. That no one could do just like her, and it just bared your soul, and you just felt completely comfortable within 5 minutes of knowing her or being around her. And I always loved that because she really saw me. Lisa had style. We all know about her style. She could turn things that either her mom had made, and she could somehow add something to it to make it actually her and make her comfortable in it. I grew up in a strict Christian denomination where you couldn't cut your hair, you couldn't wear makeup, and you couldn't wear pants if you were a girl. Lisa taught me how to do all three. Although I have never learned to do makeup as expertly as her, and I have never got the style that she had, especially her love of vintage things. She saw the beauty in things that you could find for a dime at a store, and she could make it look like the most priceless bit of something. And that was, I will always remember that. I also put down, so I think of her, you know how on the internet they have all these life hacks on how you can do things either to clean or to fix, and said if you gave her some duct tape and a safety pin, she could fix anything that you had. She could do that. She was very, very loyal to her friends. She would defend you to a point. I was forever leaving. I was an exchange student 1 year of high school. I went into the military after high school. Then I went off to college, and then I went to California. Now I'm in Atlanta, and no matter when, any time that I came back to St. Louis, we could pick up in a dime like we had never separated. There was never this distance that grew as it did with other friends and other acquaintances and people we knew, but with her, it was like a rock. When you got with her, she would look at you like nothing had happened, like there was no time between you. And I know each of you have also experienced that as you've been separated and come together with her. whenever I would come in town, I'll remember our local adventures. She introduced me to, what do you do when the clubs in St. Louis close? You drive across the river into Illinois. They're open till 6 a.m. there. Just don't run out of gas coming back. For me, and I hope for her as well. Like, I never had a sister, a real sister. I was an only child. I had some stepbrothers and sisters later in life, but for me, she was my sister. She took me in as a sister. And I had brothers vicariously through her. She was so generous, that's already been mentioned. Even when she would seemingly have nothing to give, she gave everything she had. When I first went off to California after college, I remember she said, "Hey, come over here. I have something to give you before you go." And she literally completely filled my trunk. She had went to like Sam's Club. Or I don't know if Costco existed back then, but one of those big warehouse things. And she filled me with the largest tubs of laundry detergent and dish soap and everything you could possibly need to start up a house. And she packed it. And it was totally unexpected. And I used that stuff for like over a year. It was amazing. And her smile. Even just this morning, I was talking with someone who had been at my wedding, and Lisa was my matron of honor and had done so much to help me because I was doing it long distance. And she said she remembered Lisa, that it wasn't just her smile, but that when she smiled, her entire face was part of that smile. Her eyes would twinkle. Everything just lit up. And that is such a special feature, and I know so many people will mention that, but it's so true. And she could make you turn your smile upside down, because no matter what it was, in a few minutes with her, you would think it's not all that bad. And if there was a person that was the problem, all of a sudden it was not that bad, because Lisa was on your side and she was going to help you. She was going to help you get through that or get back at that person or whatever it was. It just never seemed so bad when she was your friend. As a Marine, I can say she would have made a great Marine. She would have been an honor to the Corps. And lastly, I just want to talk about her heart. I think all of that I've already said just saw so much about her heart. That she just loved everyone. Everyone that she could see a good heart in. So I believe each and every one of you has a good heart because she loved you. And you're here because you loved her. And she wouldn't have probably been that close to you if she had seen through and not seen your heart. She loved good people. And Stephen, she loved you fiercely. I had known her through other, dates and boyfriends and things before when we were younger. But when she told me about you, that there's this guy that keeps coming in the restaurant. And then how much she loved you, and I could see it in every fiber of her being. You were her one. Her destiny, and thank you so much for giving her such a wonderful life, because every time I spoke to her, she was happy. She was happy. And I know a lot of us didn't know how sick she was. It shocked me, because though I could tell in the last few years that something was wrong, she wouldn't do it. But I think that was her heart too, because she didn't ever want to be that down to someone that she loved. She didn't want to have you worry. She didn't want to have you cry. She didn't want to have you thinking that way. When you thought of her, she wanted you to think about the good things, not about tragic things. It's just the way her heart was. And though I wish I had known, I'm going to honor her and just say it's the way that she wanted it. And there's so many different places that you're going to go over the next few days and weeks and months. And when you see that thing or go to that place, you're going to think of her because you were there with her. Or you're going to look at pictures and you're going to see her. And when you do, just know that she's smiling beside you, and she wants you to think that happy spot. She wants you to think that good thing, not that she's gone, but to think of that peace and joy and that huge grinning smile that she had that lit up her eyes and everything else. And do that for her. So, thank you.
Steve, thank you for allowing me to speak today and honoring your wife, Lisa's memory, and my condolences again to all of Lisa's family. My name is Nikki Williams Sebastian. Lisa and I met at Sherwood Forest Camp as teenagers back in the 80s. We were first campers together at Sherwood. And we had a leadership program. Once you kind of aged out of the regular boys camp or girls camp, there was a leadership development program for those who were interested in becoming camp counselors and getting our first summer jobs. And to be accepted into the leadership program, you had to, of course, first graduate from girls camp or boys camp. And the leadership program was an honor to us kids because it meant your camp counselor, your camp director, Mary Rogers over there, believed in you. And they believed that as a teenager, that you were 15, 16, 17 years old, that the camp staff believed that you had the skills, the sense of responsibility, the maturity to lead campers, and to be a camp counselor at Camp Sherwood. And the essence of the leadership program was for us to, of course, learn survival skills and help others, and to lead and nurture a safe camping experience for everyone. So the leadership training was co-ed. After you graduated boys camp or girls camp, it was me, it was Lisa and Arletha over there with Mary. And we nicknamed Sparkles because Arletha had these brand new braces one summer. So, and we also had 2 new members to our camp from the boys camp, Gary and Paul. And together as a group, we learned first aid, CPR, rappelling, fire management, how to not burn down the forest when you're camping, how to use a compass, how to shelter construction, just overall knowledge how to camp, how to be in nature, and how to be there and enjoy nature and to not leave a trace, to be respectful of Mother Nature. And so during our training, the leadership tests started, and we had to complete 5-day hikes, 3-day canoe trips. We also had just surprise experiences kind of dropped on us, where we had to kind of think on our feet and learn to plan, survive. One day, the 5 of us were with our counselor, Garen, and we were at Johnson Shut-In State Park. And we woke up, Sparkles reminded me the details, but we woke up one morning and our counselor had left us a note and said, you all have to make your way back to camp. As a group, figure it out. And Camp Sherwood and Johnson Shut-Ins was about 5.5 miles away. So the instructions were to return together to camp as a group. Keyword group, I'll reiterate that. So just to imagine that, again, in the 80s, teens, we all knew everything. We each had to work together, kind of figure out and decide our best route back to camp. And of course, this was a typical, what we say now, Gen X experience, where you were just left to survive on your own and kind of figure it out with whatever you had on you, pretty much at the time. So in our little group of 5, the disagreements kind of started. It wasn't, like Lord of the Flies. It wasn't like that we were abandoned and things descended into chaos and people trying to kill each other. It certainly wasn't like that. But, we had to figure out meals. We had to figure out shelter. We had to figure out who was in charge, who carried what, who was going to put what in their backpack. And just several decisions as a group we had to make before we got moving. And I remember at that time, we had one member of our group, looking back on it, Sparkle's laughing, who was just a bit different from the rest of us. He kind of wanted to go his own way. He wasn't kind of participating in the group dynamics, in the planning, and just wasn't participating to help us get out of this situation. So in our teenage brains, we thought, okay, well, if he's not going to participate, we have to get out of here. So we're not going to starve to death. We're not going to get eaten by bears or wolves or whatever is out at a state's park, whatever is out there. But I remember some of us, I think Gary and I think Arletha, you were there too, but I think we were about to head out. We took the important stuff, the matches. We took the tools, the knives, toilet paper, whatever we needed to survive and get our way back to 5 miles back to camp. But I think Arletha was on the fence, like, I don't know, should we go? I don't know, let's kind of stay together. But Lisa was adamantly refused to leave behind anyone and would not leave behind our 5th member, was not going to leave him in the woods. Even though we were ready to go, we want to leave, she would not do that. And that story is how I just wanted to say how Lisa became the leader of our group, the de facto leader. And she went into mama bear mode. And we didn't vote on this. We didn't have a discussion about it as a group. Lisa was the one who saw what needed to be done to make the decisions, and Lisa did it. So we had started off on our path. We were gone. We were like, look, we're doing this. We're getting out of here. And then Lisa got, caught up to us and was like, no, turn around. We're not leaving this guy. Everybody turn around. And warrior princess, what you said. And all of us, with our packs, turned around and followed Lisa. And we went and got our 5th member, just like she ordered us to do. And we did complete that task as a journey, as the instructions called us to do. Lisa did not let us strike out on our own and kind of do our own thing, kind of get to the finish line. She said, no, we're going to do this together. And I will add, this was a multiracial co-ed group. There were 2 white guys, 2 black girls, Sparkles and I, and Lisa, and we completed that assignment as one team. And I would probably go even so far as to say that Lisa saved that guy's life that day. I'm not joking. Lisa protected him. She was fiercely protective of him because she was thoughtful. She was compassionate. As everyone has already said, she was kind, and she thought of everybody. Like Andrea said, everyone said Lisa thought of everyone. So we did graduate from the leadership program. And Lisa and Arletha and I each had our campers, and her girls did love her. Like Wes said, they worshiped her because she was just so nice to them. And I remember when we got our camper assignments, I would see the girl, and they're like, oh, I got Lisa, yay, I'm so happy. Because they loved her, and she was so pretty, too. So, little girls are like, oh, I want to be with Lisa's cabin. So, Steve, I just want you to know that you are welcomed into our group, our little Sherwood alumni circle. I don't know if you want to be in that. You probably don't. But that little circle, even though we all live in different states, we all kind of moved on, but we've kind of reassembled recently. In the last couple of years, we're in contact with each other. We're on a little text group, and we've been a group for about 35 years now, and we still keep in contact with each other. So your wife Lisa, your sister Lisa, will always have a place in our hearts. And that whole experience, kind of Lisa taught me that of this African proverb is that if you want to go somewhere fast, you go alone. And if you want to get somewhere far, you go together. You go together with friends. So I'm grateful for the time I had with Lisa. She was a very good friend to me, and I will miss her very much. Thank you.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm one of Lisa's nieces. I'm Carly. So, the afternoon Lisa died, Stephen called me and asked if I saw what he posted on Facebook, and I said I did. His next question was, do you think it was all right? Do you think I did her justice? And my answer was simple. I don't think words will ever be able to do that. The following week, he asked me if I thought I'd be able to come speak today, and my response followed the same concern he shared with me. I'd be honored, but I'm not sure I can do her justice. So for the past 2 weeks, I've thought, how am I going to stand up in front of all of these people who loved my aunt more than she probably realized and do this? That's really the question. How would I make her proud and help those around me find the words or actions to live up to her memory? The conclusion I've come to is the same one I told my uncle almost 3 weeks ago. Live your life in a way that would make Lisa proud. And remember the things that made her so special and emulate them in our daily lives is how I and we can honor her. So with that, I feel it's only right to share some of the life lessons I've learned from my Aunt Lisa. For those of you who don't know me well, you're probably thinking I'm wearing black because we're at a memorial. The reality is, like my Aunt Lisa, black is the majority of my wardrobe. Most people get their style from their mothers, sisters, or friends. My mother wears bright colors like pinks, purples, and blues. I, however, live in neutrals, mainly black, like Lisa, who I've watched since I was little and fell in love with her style. So when people ask me why I only wear black, instead of questioning whether or not I should go buy this year's latest fashion, I will stand proud knowing it's okay to love the wardrobe I've spent years building, of black leggings, joggers, and most importantly, cardigans, just like my aunt whose style I admired. Another life lesson she instilled in me is how to give a good hug. It may sound silly, and as I shared this with my mom, her reaction was, you know what, you're right, when Lisa gave me a hug, she really hugged me. I can't tell you how many times I've given friends and families, and sometimes coworkers, hugs, and a commonality I hear is that I just give the best hugs. I didn't come to give these great hugs without first being hugged by Lisa. And for more time than most others in a true embrace that you don't get with the quick hello and goodbye hugs most of us give our friends and families when we come and go. Aunt Lisa's hugs were truly hugs that made whatever was on your mind pause from whatever was racing around it and just take a deep breath and enjoy the embrace and let go of whatever stress you felt. Over the past year, I haven't had the chance to have one of those hugs. I was, however, lucky enough to get my aunt's unfiltered advice. And let me say, what I'm about to share does not make me crazy, and thankfully Lisa helped me come to that conclusion. Last spring, I moved in with my boyfriend, which in itself, some would call a major life change, and maybe a little stressful. 2 months later, our small family of 2 fur babies grew to 3, and within a month, 4. Most people said, wow, like 4, what are you thinking? That's just too much. You've got to get rid of the additional 2, and life will be better. Like, you don't need 4. That's just insane. What those people didn't understand was I couldn't bring myself to do that. And I felt a little bit embarrassed to tell people I had 4 dogs. It's a lot. Obviously, my parents supported me and talked me off the ledge on many occasions, but there was one specific phone call I remember. I was sitting on the patio with the dogs barking, frustrated with everyone sharing their opinions and unsolicited advice, talking, and let's be honest, complaining to my aunt and uncle, because that's what I do, a lot. And while Stephen just laughed and said, you'll be fine, it'll be fine, Lisa grabbed the phone and said, Carly, listen to me. You're doing the right thing, sweets. Not many people would do this, but these babies need a home and you're giving them one. Screw what everyone else says, you're doing the right thing. And with that encouraging statement, I felt a wave of relief that finally Somebody who wasn't my parents understood what I was feeling and going through and knew that I needed to hear. That I wasn't making a mistake. She had a way of doing that, instilling confidence in decisions when I was unsure. She would lend an ear without criticism nor judgment, and she encouraged me, and I'm sure many others, to live their life, embrace it, and have no regrets, because it only comes once. When I have a doubt in mind, I think to myself, what would Lisa say? And I can hear her say the same thing each time. Do what you want to do, sweets. No one else matters. You need to do what's going to make you happy. These conversations are only one piece of what made my aunt so special. Another, which everyone can agree to, is the love she had for my uncle. There are many iconic couples in history. Among those great loves would be my Aunt Lisa and Uncle Stephen. Their relationship was a rarity, almost like a unicorn. There's something to be said about the admiration and adoration I have for their love story. I told my uncle the afternoon that Lisa died, trying to grasp onto some sense of normalcy within an unimaginable day, that after looking at old photos and seeing how incredibly beautiful she was, he really married up. And it was not planned that these photos are here, but I do think it's a really prime example. If you see when they got married with the framed glasses, a little dorky, and then about 20 years later, aged like a fine wine thanks to my Aunt Lisa's influence. It's not a coincidence. So I did get a chuckle out of him, but what followed was the list of reasons why he loved Lisa. It wasn't just her beauty, but her incredible personality. The first reason being she made him the man he was today. And as cliche as it sounds, not only did she make him a better man, but she made him the man he wanted to be, and a better man and a better person. The second thing he said was she was his best friend and sounding board. And I don't think you can ask for anything more when you meet the person you're meant to be with. He's told me repeatedly over the past few weeks how much he hopes I have the chance to have what he did. And I can hope that I end up with a sliver of the amount of love and devotion they shared, because even that small amount would mean a lifetime of happiness. I told my Uncle Stephen the best way to honor Lisa is by doing the things she loved. Travel to the places she loved, talk about her often, and share stories, and find happiness in your life like she would want all of us to do. Because nothing made her happier than the love and having joy in our lives. So, I will drink hot chocolate on chilly days by the fireplace and think of her. I will find treasures at thrift stores because they have the best hidden gems, and I will think of her each time I pass one and set out a plan to explore the knickknacks and clothing aisles. I will send my mom random horse videos and gifts in the middle of the day, like Lisa used to send us. I will wear my wardrobe built with variations of black, just like she did. And I will enjoy having a pack of 4 dogs and do my best not to be overwhelmed by it and be proud and confident in the decisions I make, because I know she'd want me to, and that's what she told me to do. My aunt was one of a kind. She was like a real-life Disney princess from under the sea. But my uncle was right. Her kindness, her laugh, her extraordinary heart, and her occasional immature sense of humor are what made her my Aunt Lisa. She was one of the most, if not the most, accepting and selfless people I knew. She never judged, and regardless of the situation, was unconditional with her love. We miss her, we love her, and we will continue to honor her each day. Thank you.
This is going to be hard, but it's going to be short and sweet. So, hello everyone. My name is Kristen, and I have been graced with the gift of calling Lisa my friend for nearly 2 decades. As we gather here today, I want to express my gratitude to all of you for coming to honor Lisa's beautiful and gentle spirit. Lisa lived her life with a kindness that was felt by everyone she came across. Her gentleness was not just an attribute, but a gift she generously shared, making each of us better simply being in her presence. Have you ever met someone you liked instantly and you knew you were going to be their best friend? That was Lisa for me. I first met Lisa at the King Kit Club at Ameristar, which I later found out that they were regulars. They were regulars a lot of places around town. Lisa and Steve had their favorite seats at the end of the bar. I was awestruck by her gorgeous red hair and that flawless beauty. She was always so put together. Once we started talking, we discovered we shared the same birthday, September 16th. Something clicked in my heart and my head, and we were instant best buds. Lisa and Steve were our couple. Dinners, road trips, birthdays, concerts, fabulous trips, and they introduced us so many beautiful friends that are here today. We love being with the Blythes. Some of my favorite times with Lisa were just riding in the back of their car together. If we were going out, Lisa would text and say, "Hey, want a carpool?" And we would say, "Sure, when's the Juber coming to pick us up?" And I can say that because I'm half Jew. They would arrive at our house. Lisa would jump out and get in the back seat so us girls could be together. We would hold hands and embrace, and she always smelled so fabulous, and I loved holding her sweet, soft hands. Lisa was silly and sophisticated. She had her own lingo, chica chica, waka waka, jinga jinga, fuzzy butts, you know what I'm talking about. She just made everything fun and easy. She was always that gracious host or guest. Steve and Lisa never showed up empty-handed. Wine, snacks, gifts, they always brought all kinds of goodies. They both are and were incredibly generous. Though today we mourn, we also celebrate and honor Lisa's lasting impact. Lisa had a rare gift to make everyone in her life feel special, a testament to the depth of her empathy and care. Let us remember the joy she brought into our lives, the peace she offered, and the love she shared. I find comfort, as I hope you do too, in knowing that her spirit, her kindness, and her gentle touch are etched in the legacy she leaves behind. When we would end our evenings together, Lisa and I would always give each other a big hug. I would slap Steve on the back and say, "Bye, Stevie B." Lisa and Kelly would fist bump and say, "Later, Biffers." And we all know Lisa gave great hugs, and she loved hugs. Most of us know Steve is not a big fan of hugs, except hug from Lisa. We also know Lisa liked to mess with Steve, so today everybody give Steve a big hug for Lisa. Lisa, you were and continue to be the sunlight and the gentle rain in the lives you touched, for everything we shared, and for your beautiful soul. Thank you. You will be missed and eternally loved. Thank you.
Well, we all knew I was going to cry right away. It's hard to put all these memories together for a few stories and words, and so I apologize in advance for rambling for a few minutes here. I'm Stephen with a PH, as Lisa would always say, Stephen with a V. I met Steve and Lisa 16 years ago, shortly after I moved to St. Louis. I moved here from Las Vegas and was here, I work in the hotel business to open the new Four Seasons Hotel being built downtown. We had hired a banquet manager here at the hotel from a local restaurant who happened to be good friends with Lisa and with Steve. And a few weeks in of getting to know him, he told me, he said, you would really hit it off with friends of mine. You had a lot in common. And boy, did that really prove to be an understatement. Within the first couple of weeks of getting to know Steve and Lisa, it was really apparent to me that they were like the Kevin Bacon of St. Louis. They knew absolutely everyone, every single person. And you hear these stories earlier, and look at all of us that had been connected to them. And everyone that we met as we opened the hotel, everybody knew them. Everybody had a story about them. Everybody connected back to just everything. And it all came back to Lisa and Lisa's just genuine herself and who she was and what everybody's been saying, what you've all been saying, and what we're going to be talking about in eternity forever is, for me, having just met them, what really stood out is her and who she was and how everybody said how kind she was, how compassionate she was, how thoughtful she was, how positive she was. She was always so positive. And early on in our relationship and hearing this and seeing this, I'm like, my goodness, there's not one negative thing that was ever said about her. And for 16 years in our relationship, there never was. Never was with her. Over the past 16 years, I've had the good fortune of becoming part of Lisa's family. Lisa's become part of my family. Lisa checked a lot of boxes in my life. She was my second sister. She liked to say she was my second mom, and she was. She was also a very close friend and confidant that I could talk to about anything, and she could wear any one of those hats as our lives kind of evolved together. She always checked in on me. She always made sure we were a good place. As so many of you know, we were inseparable. As I've moved around since living here, Steve and Lisa have always visited me everywhere I lived. And I laughed about your story earlier with the Sam's Club, because Lisa always hit the ground running. On the first visit, when I moved, boom, they were there within a week and a half, and Lisa's in the house, and what do we need? What do I need to get you? What can I do for you? What am I doing? And even if I didn't know it, she was there. She brought it. She had it for me. She always wanted to make sure I was a good place, and before she left, she always made sure that I felt comfortable and that I was ready to go. I had a lot of firsts in my life with them. I purchased my first car on my own with Steve and Lisa. Steve handled all the negotiations. He knew all the specs on the car. He knew exactly what car I was getting on. And I would just sat in the waiting room with Lisa. And Lisa had the phone out with the videos and the stories and this and that and this and that. And he'd look over at us and roll his eyes. And I can hear her laughing now. I can hear her laughing as we're sitting there, as he just kind of says, "Okay, come over now and you can sign now," right? Like, okay, oh, okay, great, thank you. And that was just her, right? So, like, the stories and the back and forth and her just calling us out on it, calling us out on everything. It was amazing. I lived in St. Louis for 5 years over 2 different periods of time. And for me, I've grown up living a lot of places. I've lived in 20 places. So 5 years until where I live now in Chicago was the longest I've lived anywhere in my life. So I can't underestimate the impact that they've had on me. And Steve and Lisa are the reason I stayed here so long. They're the reason I moved back here. I remember in 2011, I was living in San Francisco. I'd moved from here, and my work had given me 2 opportunities. And they said, you can move to this city or you can move back to St. Louis. And it was a no-brainer. I remember I called you 2 right after I called my parents. And I was so happy to come back to you guys. Steve and Lisa drove me to the airport when I moved. They picked me up at the airport. They drove me back to the airport when I moved back and picked me up again. We had, in our 5 years here together, we had our routines. We had our go-to spots. We spent a ton of time together. We had our routine, our lunches routine, our dinners routines, our after dinners routines. And Lisa loved Soulard, as I think everyone here knows. She loved the patio. She loved the people watching. I can see those eyes. Those eyes get big. I can see them lighting up, and I can see her laughing right now. Steve was always the driver, right, with your common theme. Lisa was always the DJ. She always picked the best music. Any time of day, any time of night. It's an underutilized talent of hers. We'd go to a lot of sporting events together. We'd go to the Cardinals games. Steve would probably watch the Cardinals games. Lisa and I would walk around the stadium, and people watch, and then we'd come back, and we'd say, "Is the game over?" And he said, "No, the game's like 2 hours left." So Lisa and I would go back, and we'd have a drink, and we'd get our pretzel to honey mustard, and we'd talk to more people, and we'd come back, and then we were ready to go out after the game. During it's funny, somebody mentioned it earlier too, and with Lisa, to kick it off with tardiness. The 5 years here I lived here, I think Steve and I probably spent the equivalent of 6 months waiting in his car to get Lisa out the door. And Lisa would always apologize, and we don't apologize. And Steve got so good that we'd have our dinner reservation really 30 minutes later than we told us. We never were late, and we were always in good hands and ready to go. Lisa and I used to go on walks at Forest Park. We'd get outside, we'd stretch our legs. She had those big sunglasses, those Jackie O-style sunglasses. She always looked fabulous, even on the walks, and there's a picture of her back there with them. And she lit everywhere up, right? Indoors, outdoors, wherever you were, she just absolutely lit everything up. We essentially lived together when I was here, right? And we traveled a lot. We did our annual trips to Vegas, our annual trips to Napa. My parents would come, my sister would come to the Vegas trips. We just had the most amazing times. And Lisa and I had the same kind of passions when we got there. We wanted the restaurants, we wanted the shows, we wanted a little bit of casino time. Lisa was a winner, right? Lisa would win, and Steve and I'd sit there, and she'd come back, and she'd tell us a story, and she just did it so well. And Steve wanted to go smoke his cigars, and Lisa and I wanted to go shop. So we'd do our thing, he'd do his thing, and then we'd meet back up. And it was the most amazing times. And Napa was always a production for us. That was our trip. We loved putting the itinerary together, and by that I mean Steve and I, we thought it was an honor to be invited on our Napa trip, and Lisa would just sit there on the phone and just laugh at us and just make so much of us. And what are you two doing? This is too much. And but she secretly loved it, and she's looking now, and I know she is, and I can hear her laughing right now, actually. And we'd go on these trips, and Lisa was the star of the trip. Lisa was the absolute star of the trip. We'd go to these wineries. Steve, right, didn't want to make small talk. I didn't want to make small talk. We wanted to taste the wines. And Lisa would dig in and do what she needed to do on our trips, and she would make the small talk, and she built the rapport with these winemakers and these vineyard hosts. And then we'd go for dinner 3 or 4 hours later, and the people would be at dinner, right? Because that's the woman she was, and that's the relationship she made, and everybody gravitated towards Lisa. And if you've ever traveled with Lisa, you know she's the queen of snacks. She had that big black purse, and that big black purse had everything in it: sweet snacks, savory snacks, sweet and savory snacks. Like, it didn't matter. She had it all. And gum. And she always had gum. And it's funny, I forgot gum today, and I get in Steve's car this morning, and there's a pack of gum right there. And I was like, oh, it's her. So many occasions we'd go on road trips, we'd fly together, I'd eat all the snacks before the plane took off, or before we'd driving, and then we'd land, like SFO, and then out comes a suitcase, and there's 2 more big bags of snacks. She was just always ahead of it and always thinking of it. We ate out a lot. In addition to traveling, we ate at some amazing restaurants. And I was always like, oh, are you going to eat that, Lisa? And Lisa, no, go ahead, And fortunately for us, we liked the same types of food, Lisa and I. And the odd time we didn't, she would always order what I wanted to order and ensure that we were able to have it and eat it. And the most amazing thing was going to a restaurant with Lisa, because she knew and genuinely cared for absolutely everybody that worked in the restaurants. Whether it's a different city we were traveling to, whether it's a place where she was a regular, she genuinely wanted everyone to feel heard. She wanted them to know how much they were appreciated. She listened to the stories, right? She showed empathy to everybody, and then she stayed connected to everybody afterward, right? I mean, a 2-night trip, and she's staying connected with these people and telling us stories about them. And we're like, we don't remember these people. And she knows everything about them. She just had the most amazing gift. Everyone, you can't say this about many people, but it's amazing. Everyone that has ever spent any time with Lisa is truly a better person for having known Lisa. Everyone, all of us have stories about Lisa, because she prioritized all of us and she made time for all of us. It was always about us. It was never about her. When we needed an ear, when we didn't know we needed an ear, she was there for us. She lived her life with grace and humility. It didn't matter if she had never met you before or if she grew up with you. She led with love first, and love first for all of us. I'm sorry. Steve, we all love you. We know you're a bit of a curmudgeon. Lisa was the bridge, your voice of reason, a referee. The two of you were so great together, so great together. The stories, all this love, everything that we all share for her and admire about her and her grace, we'll never forget it. It'll always live on. And Lisa, you're right, I am a little stinker. And no, stop pinching my ears, but she would never stop pinching my ears. And we'd laugh, and I'd pull her hair, and Steve would say stop, and then we'd go back at it again. I love you. I love you very much, and thank you for everything we did together. I love you.
When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I'll dry them all. I'm on your side. Oh, when times get rough and friends just can't be found, like a bridge over troubled waters, I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled waters. I will lay me down. When you're down and out, when you're on the street, when evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. I'll take your part. Oh, when darkness comes and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. Sail on, silver girl, sail on by. Your time has come to shine. All your dreams on the way, see how they shine. Oh, if you need a friend, I'm sailing right behind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your mind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your mind.
It was Eric and Elaine who told me that Lisa died, and I know that she adored the two of you, that you were truly parents to her, and that she loved being a Bly and being a part of your family. But I remember I was very concerned because you told me that we were not going to be following Jewish tradition and doing the burial right away. And I was concerned, not so much because it's Jewish tradition, but because the reason that we do that in Judaism is because we know that psychologically that people need the closure. That when someone leaves us, that it is so incredibly hard to face that reality, and so Jewish tradition says you need to be able to lay them to rest as quickly as possible so that you are able to have that closure and move on. And I just want to say that I recognize from being here today that there's not going to be closure. That some lives are just too big to ever say, this is the end. But I will say that I think there is some actually perfect synchronicity in the fact that this is the day that we are saying farewell to Lisa. Because today actually turns out to be a very important day on the Jewish calendar. Today is when we end one book of the Torah and start another. And we know that when we do that, it really isn't an ending. It is just closing one chapter, but still continuing on with a story. And so that's what we're doing here as we say goodbye to Lisa. It is the end of a chapter, and a remarkable chapter, I know, in all of your lives for having been able to share it with her. But still, the story continues on. And the remarkable, remarkable way that each of you spoke today, and I could tell by watching all the looks on your faces that so many of you could have also come up here and shared your own stories, and I hope you will continue to do so, that her story is going to continue on even though the chapter has ended. So in Judaism, when we have this special day, when we close one book of the Torah and start another one, there is a saying that we are all supposed to say. We're supposed to say the words chazak, chazak, v'nit chazak. It means strength, strength, and may we all be strengthened. It is actually a rather strange thing to say just to mark ending a book of the Torah, but today I think it actually fits perfectly because you all are going to need to continue on with the chazak that she brought each of you, that warrior princess attitude that gave you such strength just in watching her. So chazak, chazak, v'nit chazak. May we be able to find strength in her legacy and her memory so that we can go forward v'nit chazak, and be strong on our own in honor of her. So I ask you now, if you will, to please rise for the words of El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, shochen bamromim, hamtsem nuchan chona, תחת כנפי השכינה, עם קדושים וטהורים, כזר הרקיע מסירים, את נשמת יקירנו שחל לעולמה, בעל הרחמים יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרו בצרור החיים את נשמתה, אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום המשכבה, ונאמר אמן. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest and your sheltering presence to Lisa, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. And we conclude with the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ba'alma divarach chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv emru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mavarach La'alam Omei Almaya. Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitzpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yithaleh V'yithalal Shmei Dekudasha Barichu La'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbachata V'nechmata Ta'amiran Ba'ama V'emru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'akol Yisrael V'emru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'akol Yisrael V'emru Amen. May God grant peace to those who mourn and comfort all the bereaved among us. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'akol Yisrael Ve'imeru. Amen. My friends, at this time, I would ask you please to just remain at your seats to allow the family to recess ahead of you. And then, as I shared in the beginning, they would be honored to meet you at Annie Gunn's to share some more stories of her life. Thank you for being here.